Hey, this is Mark with PT Final Exam, and today I'm going to talk to you about travel PT. So as part of PT Final Exam, we are a company that helps get people ready to sit for boards. We help you journey in that process to actually study, to be ready to take that exam on exam day. But after you've passed your exam, what then? We have questions about, hey, what area should I go into? What's the best kind of avenue for me to take as a therapist now that I'm licensed, now that I'm out there in the world? I'm in quite a fortunate position in the sense that I've worked in multiple different areas within therapy. I've done acute care, I've done subacute rehab, I've done outpatient, and I've also done travel PT. And I want to talk to you a little bit today about the pros and the cons that come with travel PT. So there's lots of pros, but there's also some cons. So if you are someone who's getting through boards, you're licensed, or you're just about to get licensed, and you're wondering, hey, where's going to be my first job? Then I wanted to talk to you about travel PT, because for some people, this is the perfect start to your career, but for other people, it might not work out. So I want to talk to you about the pros and the cons and just make you fully aware of things you can expect while doing a travel contract. So let's start with the pros. We always like to start with the positive. So the pros, some of the pros for travel PT is just your flexibility and the ability to just take some time off when you want. So usually a travel contract lasts for about 3 months. And between your travel contracts, you actually have the option to be off for a few weeks. And with most of the travel companies, they offer you health insurance, which is great. And as long as you fulfill another contract after your first one, and you start that within 2 to 3 weeks, your health insurance stays active. This is a really, really good option for you if you want to be able to work somewhere, but also maybe take a few weeks off in between contracts to travel. It could be in the state that you've just been in. It could be you fly somewhere to get away, to travel, to actually see the world. So that's one of the big pros. The other big pro for this is that you get to travel the country and explore new cultures. Now, within every single state, there is different cultural things. There is just a massive variety throughout the whole United States where you can go. You could be in Michigan at one point, and you could be in California at another point, and actually get a very, very different cultural experience. So if you are someone who thrives on learning new cultures and thrives on new environments and new situations, travel PT will probably be a really, really good fit for you. The other great thing is that you are able to switch facilities and buildings. There are some times that you start a job, there are some times you go into something, and within the first few weeks, you're kind of like, oh, I don't think this job's for me, or I don't know how long I'm going to be able to work here, or this setting just isn't me. It just doesn't fit my skills. One of the great things about being on a travel contract is you are only there for 3 months. So you're there in a contract for 3 months. After that, if it's something that didn't suit you, it's something that you didn't like, you have got the option to switch and move to a different facility or a different building or a different state after that. So think about that in the sense that, hey, I want to learn as much as I can, and I want to be able to go to a place and actually realize, oh, I absolutely love outpatient neuro, or I'm going into a facility and it's actually like, absolutely subacute rehab is my jam. So that's really, really good and really good option for you to figure out what you want to do as a therapist. Your other great thing is some professional development. So most of the travel companies will have some sort of CEU library that you can go on, you can access, and you can actually take continuing ed online. You can go and take classes. You can go and further your studies and actually develop yourself professionally based on some of the online training they've got. They will also give a stipend or give some kind of money to you to be able to go on courses. So you might finish a contract and then want to go and take a 1-week course on dry needling, or you might want to go and take a course on myofascial release or something like that. you could have the option of actually asking that company, hey, would you pay for me to go on a course between contracts? I'm going to go here and I'm going to study this, this, and this. This is what it's going to look like on my resume. This is how it's going to look for me professionally. And they might actually say, yeah, let's do that. Let's go and do that. And they'll cover that thing for you. So you've got that professional development aspect as well as being able to travel and be able to move around. The other thing that people find is that you really discover yourself and your independence. So there is a lot of people that have gone from their parents' house to college to a house full of students, and this is the first time that they've actually got out, traveled, and been on their own. And you learn that, hey, I can be independent, I can figure out my own walk here, and I can work out where I want to work, and I can just have a really, really good experience as part of my traveling. So you get to figure out yourself as well as a therapist. So you can say, no, musculoskeletal outpatient is just not for me. But you might also go, oh, acute care, I love it. That's where I want to specialize. That's where I want to find my full-time job. That's where I want to hang out. So discovering yourself and finding your independence is also another huge pro. Now, after the pros, we've got the neutrals, okay? So neutrals in here, you've got money as being a neutral. Now, I wasn't sure whether to put money into the pros or into the cons, so we've kind of put it in a neutral session here. Because with money, part of travel therapy is you get paid very, very well. You get paid really well for your contract. You get to split your money up in a sense that you get a housing stipend and an hourly wage. So you have the option of actually bringing in a decent amount of money. So if you are someone who can live quite cheap, or maybe go to a state that you've got family in, that you could stay with someone without having to pay rent, or you could work it in a way that you're not paying too much money for accommodation and living, you have got a really, really good option to build some money. And a lot of people will use this as a chance to pay back their student loans and actually get out of debt really quick. So the amount of money you get for a travel contract straight out of school is actually really significant. So it's a really big pro. Now, if you're a more experienced therapist, or you have been out of school for a while, you may have already built up some incremental gains within your salary. So as far as having money there all the time could be difficult, in the sense that you might not get paid much more than you're currently being paid in your full-time job. The other thing you've got to think about is whether you already own a house, whether you've got a family. If you already own a house, you're paying a mortgage on that current house. If you've got a family, you've got to then find a house that fits your whole family if you're taking everyone with you. And that's what I did when I went down to Colorado. I took my whole family with me, but we did it more for the experience than the money. So we did it for the experience, and we were still paying a mortgage on our home back in Michigan, and we also then had to rent a place that was big enough for 5 of us. So the money return we got from the travel contract wasn't something that was huge. It was enough that we were able to pay rent on our house that we lived in Colorado. We were able to cover the majority of our mortgage, and we were able to have some fun while we were in Colorado as well. So we pretty much broke even on that travel contract, but I was paying additional things for my family, for my mortgage, where if I was single straight out of school and I was doing that, there was a lot of money there that I could have placed into paying back student loans, or actually just having a really fun time while I was traveling. Okay, so moving on to some of the cons. There's got to be cons with a travel contract as well as pros. So one of the difficulties, some people love this, but some people find this really difficult. So trying to find a new job and relocating every 3 months. this might be a dream for some people, is to be in a position where you can find a new job every 3 months and relocate and see a different part of the States. But moving can be quite stressful. You might get to the close point towards the end of your contract and still not know where you're going next. So there's that that unknown, that ability to be able to say, I don't actually know where I'm going to be working next month. I don't know where I'm going to be living next month. So actually relocating and having to pack and move and find those things can be quite stressful and can be quite difficult for you as a person and for your social life, and you kind of have those aspects that just make it quite difficult. The other thing with travel therapy is you're often in some undesirable buildings or undesirable locations. Now, the whole nature of travel therapy is they are contracting someone into a building because they can't fill that spot. So if they can't fill that spot, there's got to be a reason that they're not being able to fill that spot. And often it's because you're out in the middle of nowhere, or you are in a building that just can't necessarily hold on to therapists because of XYZ. So they are things you've got to think about. So you need to know when you go into it, okay, what's my building like? What is the facility like? What is the location I'm in? So I was in a really small town in Colorado, and I actually really liked the small town, and it was a really fun place. The facility I was at, it was a locked psychiatric dementia unit, and it was not the most skilled therapy I've ever done. So it was a lot of Medicare B patients, long-term care. There wasn't a lot of progress to be seen with some of these patients. It was a lot of just trying to slow down the decline in their conditions. So that was the facility I went to, and it wasn't ideal, but the experience we had while we were down in Colorado with skiing, with the mountings, with all of those things was just incredible. And it was a really, really fun time for me and my family. And it was the contract, it was that facility that allowed me to be able to do that, because that's where I chose to go. But as a family, we were going there for the experience, not necessarily for building my career. The other thing with travel contracts is you have a very high productivity demand. So they are paying you a lot of money, so they want high return from you as a therapist. So you will have quite high expectation in how high your productivity needs to be. So they will have a standard for you. They will have an amount of percentage that they want you to be productive. And if you're not achieving that, then they might not want to keep you around. So they want you to be making their money because they are paying you a significant amount of money to be there for a short time. So be aware that the productivity standards can be quite high. But as long as you are aware of that before, and as long as you are in a position where you've actually figured that out before you go, then that is not going to be a surprise to you. There's also this just uncertainty of work. So you have uncertainty of work in the sense you might not know where you're going to be going next month. The other uncertainty is that you have the potential to have your contract cancelled at any point. They will have to give you a few weeks notice, 2 weeks, a month notice to say, hey, your contract's going to finish. So it gives you time to find a new contract. But the whole thing with a facility you're in, they will have an open spot that they are trying to fill. And if they get someone that interviews for that job, they're suitable, and they hire someone full-time, then you are no longer going to be needed as a travel contracted therapist. So just knowing that work is not always guaranteed. There's also times where you will be in a facility, but if there's no work for you, then you might have a few days cancelled that week. And when you get your days cancelled for the week, you won't get your hourly wage. You will still get your housing and living stipend based on what you've been getting. So you might have a slightly lower paycheck some weeks, but you might not work a whole lot. So depending on that, you have the option to cancel your contract yourself if the work's just not there and you have to do the same notice for them that they do for you. So that's always an option. You never have to like stick out a contract if it's just too much or too difficult, or the productivity is too high, or you're not getting hours. You have the option to hand in notice like you would in any position. So just knowing that there's that uncertainty of work. But if you are going for the experience, then actually having a couple days off during the week isn't too bad. I had a few days where I was called off from work because there just wasn't enough of a caseload there, and I was able to go up into the mountains. We were able to go skiing a couple times. We were able to do some things around Colorado with my family that we wouldn't necessarily have done if I was in work every day. So it could be a pro, but it's also, if you're not working, you're not being paid. So that uncertainty of work can increase quite a bit of stress. So canceling of contracts, so that's like what we just mentioned. The canceling of the contract could come at any point, and they've got to give you notice. They've got to give you an idea of, hey, you're going to be finishing in 4 weeks. They can't just say, all right, don't come back tomorrow. It's there. Okay. The other thing is just being away from home. If you're someone who's a home bird, if you're someone who's got lots of family and friends in your hometown, homesickness is big, because you could be in a, like we talked about, an undesirable location. It could be quite a small place. There might not be a lot happening. There might not be a lot of people there. So you're just missing home. But if you are in a big city, if you are someone that just thrives on meeting new people and socializing, then actually being away from home might be really, really great for you. But there is that option of like feeling homesick and actually struggling to be away from your friends and your family for a 3-month period. There's also just this unknown aspect. So this unknown aspect of, all right, what am I getting into? What am I walking into day one? Because you might not interview at the facility. You might interview over the phone. You might interview and then have to travel across the country to go to this new place. So there's always this unknown of, hey, what am I getting into? What's my house going to be like? What's the facility going to be like? What are the patients going to be like? So there's always just that unknown in the back of your head that you don't quite have the best idea of what is going to be going on. So having just an awareness of that and being prepared for the unknown helps to know that it's going to be there. So you could run into anything, and just that might be actually really exciting for some people, but also really anxiety increasing for other people. So just knowing that there is a lot of unknown with this type of contract. So here at PT Final Exam, we have linked in with AMN Med Travelers, and they're a contract company that provide travel contracts for people. So they will contract you out to a different company. Now, Med Travelers are the company that I went through with, when I did my travel contract, and Megan was one of the recruiters there that worked with us, and she has got just an ability to help you find your contract and help you along the way, and just make it quite a seamless and easy process. Let you know exactly what you need to do, how you need to do it. All right, this is what we've got here. There's a job coming up in this state, this state, this state. Hey, what do you think? Let's go for it. Should we apply for this one? And just helps with that process and makes it quite seamless. So if travel therapy is something that, hey, this seems quite good for me, I think this might be a really good way for me to get out there. This might be a really good way for me to see the country. This might be a really good way for me to actually decide what I want to do as a therapist. Or it might be, hey, I want to pay my student loans back really, really fast, so I want to try and bring in a bunch of money to do that as quick as I can. So here is Megan's email. So megan.watson@medtravelers.com. And if you wanted to email her and just let her know that Mark from PT Final Exam recommended her to you, and say that I'm interested in pursuing travel therapy, she will help you out from there. Your other way of doing it is to email me, Mark@PT Final Exam, and then I can link you in and put you in contact with her. So just contact her, let her know we've sent you, and we can kind of help maybe get you into a travel contract if that is something you wanted to be doing. So yeah, thanks for tuning in. PT Final Exam, we are lining up always for different classes and different products out there. So check out our website, check out our YouTube channel for different aspects of the course, of studying for boards, but also now what happens when I pass. So I hope this was helpful. And if travel therapy is for you, shoot me an email, mark@ptfinalexam.com, and we can maybe help get you out there in the world traveling.